Now up to this point we've looked at equations that contain both an x and a y variable. And we're now going to next take a look at equations that contain either just an x or just a y. And so the first example we're going to look at is going to be the equation x minus 5 is equal to negative 3. Now the first thing we're going to do with this is to solve the equation for x by adding 5 to both sides. So when we do that, we'll end up with x is equal to positive 2. Now if we next set about to graph this equation, the question becomes, what about y? Well, whenever we have a variable missing from an equation, we can assume its value to be any real number. So in this case, we'll make a note that y can be any real number. Now, to graph this equation, what we're going to do is set up a table and find a few points and then connect the dots. Now, with this equation, you'll note that what it's saying to us is that x must always be 2, but y can be any old number at all. So let's say if x were 2, maybe y would be 0. If, let's say, x is 2, maybe y is negative 1. And let's say if x is 2, then y might be positive 3. So what we'll do is plot these points, and so we have then 2, 0, the point 2, negative 1, and the point then 2, 3. So what we'll do next is connect the dots. Then we have the graph of this particular equation. Now what you can see is that the graph is a vertical line. And in fact, whenever we have the equation of the form x equals some constant, so we'll say x is equal to k, we'll make this note here that the graph is a vertical line. Now in the future, when you graph an equation of this form, you don't really need to set up a table any longer. All you need to realize is that the graph will be vertical and it will intersect the x-axis at whatever the value of the constant is, k. And so in our particular case up here, in simplified form, the equation was x is equal to 2. So all we needed to do actually was to draw a vertical line intersecting the x-axis at positive 2. The next thing we'd like to look at would be, well, what is the slope of a vertical line? Well, you remember that the basic slope formula is, let me jot it down here. Remember, it's the difference of the y values, so y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So if we choose, let's say, the first 2 points in our table to find a slope in this particular case, we're going to have then 0 minus negative 1 all over 2 minus 2. That will simplify to 0 plus 1 all over 0, or 1 over 0. Now you know whenever you have a 0 in the denominator of a fraction, that kind of expression is undefined. So we will say in this case that the slope is undefined. And that's because division by 0 is impossible. So in general, what you want to keep in mind is if you're asked for the slope of a vertical line, you simply say the slope is undefined. Now the next example we're going to look at shortly will be an example of an equation containing just the variable y.